Zach, and
I'm Adrian. We're from
Art of Transliness, and we have noticed that there are not a lot of resources for people who are post-transition.
So I guess we'll start first with like our working definition of post-transition, because it's not going to be the same for everybody, obviously. We both kind of decided that
it would be, over a year on T, just because there are so many changes that occur in the first year, and then also no longer planning any more surgeries. And so for some people, that's going to be, no surgeries. For some people, that's going to be, they're not considering themselves post-transition until they're done having bottom surgery. Generally, for the average trans guy, I would assume that means that they've had top surgery, just because the average trans guy opts for top surgery.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're working off of those assumptions, and I guess where we are at and where we're coming from, I've had top surgery, I've been on testosterone for 2 years, and I've also had a hysterectomy in August, and then we actually...
I had top surgery about 7 months ago, and I'm a year and a couple months on testosterone. So we would both consider ourselves post-transition, and as you can see, we have a different definition of what that is. Those things. So those are kind of the things that come with the definition we're going at is,
right.
You don't have to worry about a lot of the things guys earlier on in their transitions worry about. So we see a lot of resources out there for like how to get on testosterone, how to get top surgery.
Right. Like we just kind of we're past those like really big glaring issues that accompany
it's all
social. Yeah, and now there's like details.
So we thought we would do a video series on those things. It's obviously not going to be completely comprehensive because we have very limited experience and we need these resources too. Yeah. We'll see where this goes, but the first video I thought we wanted to talk about dysphoria that we still feel. So on Art of Transliness, we recently got an ask, and it was a person 2 years on testosterone who said, I still feel dysphoria, and sometimes it's worse than when I was pre-T, so what's up with that?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, I think that part of the issue, so testosterone isn't a miracle drug, and we've said this time and time again, but you kind of expect it to be. And so even for myself, I'm 2 years on testosterone. My changes are obviously super slow, and that's kind of what you expect when you're 2 years on T. But also I expected when I was 2 years on T to not have these body image issues that I currently have. And it seems more stark in contrast to how I felt pre-T, because now I have, for example, I have experienced dysphoria with my hips. But that's all. I look at my hips, but I see my super hairy stomach, and I see my flat chest, and then I see my hips.
But also you think there's not a lot you can do about it,
Right.
Pre-T, you're like, well, I'm upset about my voice, but it'll change. A year on T, if your voice isn't the way you like it to be, what can you do?
Yeah.
So that can be really frustrating. I know, so we don't see each other super often, and whenever I come here, I start thinking things like, all right, measuring your changes, who has more facial hair, things like that. Not in a competitive way, but not in a competitive way. But I think, Adrian doesn't have as much of a butt,
right?
Or,
we do
all these
kind
things
of just
because you think all right, we're both pretty much at the similar points in our transition, and it's like, I wish that I were as tall, or I wish, and there's nothing you can do.
Right, and so now we're just kind of dealing with. There was this kind of hopefulness when you're pre-T or when you just start on testosterone, that the things that you don't like about your body will at least be smoothed over a little bit with the help of testosterone. But now that we're kind of settling into our own skins, and there are still parts of our bodies that we don't really like, it's really hard to kind of be hopeful about that.
But that is how everybody feels. Everybody feels that way about their bodies. I think almost anyone could be like, there's one thing I don't like. And actually, we were at a party last night, and I'm really insecure about my butt. I think my butt looks big in any situation. But there was a guy there who had seriously the same butt as me. I don't know how that happens. We have identical butts, and I was just like, okay.
Mm-hmm. There were two guys there. Two out of the five of us there, two of the guys had big old booties. And
and they were definitely cis.
Yeah.
I mean, we...
It's for another
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just... And so that's kind of what you need to do, I guess, if we were to offer advice about how to handle this dysphoria. For me, it's definitely my hips and how my shoulders have not really broadened out the way that I want them to. And so I try to see myself or see my body type in cisgender men. And so I kind of look for them. And they exist, and that makes me feel better. And I guess that's a way for me to kind of...
And I think that's common.
Yeah.
You know, you go on like fuck yeah short guys or you know, all these different things, and that can make you feel a lot better. But definitely hip, butt, curve, dysphoria, and you don't hear about that as much. That's another question we got recently. Someone said they don't hear about that as much. But it's out there. It's just that one reason it's not talked about as much is there's like not a lot you can do other than, you know, try to work out, get lean. Another thing that can cause dysphoria, I think, you know, we were kind of talking about scars.
Yeah.
And swimming. I'm anxious to swim because I have DI scars, and you have smaller scars, but you know, it can still be kind of awkward, and accepting that as part of your body. I think the first stage of transition, you know, when you're figuring out your gender identity and deciding to take testosterone and things like that, if that's what you decide to do, it's very much like, you don't have to take this. You can change your body, you can do all these things, and then the next stage, it's like, well, you have to accept certain things.
Right.
And that it's a total, like, 180 of what your attitude needs to be in order to be happy.
Yeah, and we're still trying to work through that. I think that we've only fairly recently, probably within the last 6 months, have the both of us kind of entered into this new stage of our transitional lives.
Yeah.
Where we aren't fighting for pronouns, we're not fighting family members.
But yeah, you're not fighting your family members.
Right, you're not, these little things that are legitimately tough battles, big battles, we're not fighting those anymore.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of just struggling with how am I settling into my own skin? How am I gonna reconcile these things I don't like about myself? How am I going to express my masculinity now that I don't have to really fight for these things? And that's been something that we're both kind of exploring.
And self-acceptance is really hard. I think, like, especially with bottom dysphoria, which is something that a lot of guys experience post-transition because bottom surgery just is not in the cards for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
It's extremely expensive, and it can be really difficult. For some people, you know, they feel like there is hope because they can do that, but some people don't feel like they have hope because it's just not something that they can access, and that can be a huge problem.
Right.
But yeah, dysphoria still happens. Years on testosterone, it gets better for a lot of people, I'm assuming. But yeah, so this is our video on dysphoria,
and we will probably
we'll make some more.
So look for us again, and this is Adrian and
Zach
for Art of Transliness.